Today we'll be covering sigma notation. Sigma notation is the sum of n terms, which is basically a1, a2, a3, and so on to an, and it's written as this. So this whole thing would be sigma notation. And now let me explain what everything is. I, right here, this I is called the index of summation. So this I is known as index of summation. And then A1, AI is known as the ith term of the sum. And then the upper and lower bounds of summation. So this is the upper bound, and then 1 would be the lower bound of summation. Okay, basically, and now there are two properties of summation, which I will explain. The two properties of summation, there's this one. One is n I equals 1, k a I equals k n I equals 1 a I. So the first property is when you move a constant out and then you can solve it. It becomes easier when I actually do a problem, but that is one property. And then the second property is when AI plus minus BI equals n I equals 1 AI plus n I equals 1 BI. This is just basically, the other property is basically just saying that you can separate AI and BI into two separate summation formulas. Those are the two properties, and then there's important summation formulas we must know. There's 4 summation formulas we have to know, and this. It's n I equals 1 C equals Cn. Basically, the first one is saying that when you have a constant, you multiply this constant by n to get your answer. So let's say your constant is 6. So it's I equals 1 n. So your answer is going to be 6 and whatever n is, because C times n. Alright, that's the first one. Now, the second one is when n I equals 1 I equals n plus 1 to the over 2. This is basically saying that, so whatever n is, if you just have I, whatever n is, you plug in n. So let's say n is 6, just like we did in the last one. Well, we didn't say that, sorry. Just let's pretend n is 6. So you plug in 6 into all the n's here and you would get your answer. So it would be 42 over 2, because 6 times 6 plus 1, which is 42 over 2. And now and then let me erase all this because I have more room. And then the third summation formula is when n I equals 1. Remember, for all these summation formulas, I always has to equal 1. It's I squared equals n plus 1 2n plus 1 all over 6. And then the fourth summation formula is n equals I plus, if you can see the pattern here, just like I, it's just I squared. You have it's basically just like I, and if you can see the pattern, and then this is I cubed, and it is n plus 1, oops, sorry, completely wrong, n squared, n plus 1 squared all over 4. So that is your fourth summation formula. And it actually does. So let's do one problem where I will explain how all these formulas combine and you can solve your summation. So let's do this problem, n I equals 1. Remember, I always has to equal 1 if you want to use the summation formulas. The properties of summations also have to has to be I equals 1. You're going to have, let's say, I plus 2 all over, I plus 2 all over n. All over n. Oh, wait, I plus 2 all over n. So what you're going to do here is you're going to have, and we're going to do for n equals 2. All right, so let's first take out our constant, just like it shows in the properties of summation. Let's take out our constant, which is 1 over n. So we can take out 1 over n, and you're left with the summation of n I equals 1 I plus 2. And so you took out the 1n. Now we can go further and we can separate I and 2. So we're going to do 1 over n, and I equals 1 I plus n I equals 1, 2. Now we remember, now that we have that, now we can use I, and now we remember I equals n plus 1 all over 2. So we can plug that in for 1 over n plus 1 all over 2. Oops, my bad. And n plus 1 all over 2 plus 2n, because do you remember the summation formula where c times n, so 2 is c, and so 2n plus 2n. And now that we know n is equal to 2, we can plug in 2 for all your n's and you will have your answer. So it's going to be, I'm going to move up here, so let's just put an arrow. 1 over 2, oops, 2, my bad. Yeah, 1 over 2, 2 plus 1 over 2 plus 2 times 2. Okay, sorry, that's messy, but you get that 2 times 2. So you're going to have 1/2 6 over 2 plus 4, which is 1/2 times 3 plus 4, which is 1 plus 4, which is 5.